All right, my name's Rocky Rice, fourth generation waterman, Charles County, Maryland, on the Potomac River. The blue catfish is an invasive species that was introduced to the watershed in Virginia and then has expanded into Maryland and the Potomac River. We're hoping they'll be able to keep their numbers at least somewhat in check so they don't completely eat up all the native species, crabs, rockfish spawning areas, shad, and other native species to the Potomac River and Chesapeake Bay. They're not your typical stereotype catfish where people think they're bottom feeders or this or that. They are a predator fish. They eat vegetation when they're small, and then once they get large enough, they eat other fish. But as far as for human marketing, it's a very white fillet, mild fish, almost like a flounder or a whiting. And it's a beautiful white fillet, and they've really taken off in the consumer area where people are getting away from that stereotype of a catfish of like a bottom feeder or a mudsucker or whatever. But they're a very good fish to eat. I know a lot of the grocery stores and chefs at the restaurants, D.C., Georgetown, Annapolis, and the surrounding areas have really taken to them and been promoted by the state of Maryland and other entities. And they've really taken off. The public has had a really good response to the fish and enjoy eating them. I use catfish pots. It's just a gear that works for me with my schedule. It's a pot made of netting with fiberglass or plastic hoops with two funnels, an entrance funnel and then a tighter funnel to the holding area. We bait it, similar to a crab pot or eel pot. You put bait in it. We use Hayden and mud shad. The pots are just overboard 24/7. We fish them, about twice a week and get the fish out of them, rebait them, and set them back. The fish stay alive in the pot. All the fish are alive when we get them out of the pot. They're iced on the boat. I ice mine on the boat. Some people use live boxes, but I ice mine right on the boat. When we get to shore, the truck from the wholesaler processing plant meets us within an hour of us getting to shore. Once we get to shore, the truck comes. We take them out of our cooler with ice, weigh them, and put them on their truck, and they're re-iced, and then they go to Jessup to be processed the next day, or maybe even that night sometimes. The turnaround, the process, they can be processed within 24 hours and then out to your grocery stores probably, I don't know the exact numbers, probably within 48 to 72 hours. And I think that's one of the selling points, on these fish because they are caught locally. Well, I've grew up being a waterman, mainly doing hard crabs in the summer and rockfish and oysters in the winter. And when hard crabs have been up and down as of late, you have a good year and then two bad years and a good year. So it was something when the demand picked up, the supply was there. So about 4 years ago, I took and got some equipment and started fooling with it. Every waterman in this area, none of us do just one thing. You have to be flexible, and it might be crabs this month and fish next month. But it has just been something else that I've been able to do to make a living and pick up the slack where traditionally years ago it was hard crabs and oysters. And it's just something else to fill in the time in between seasons. It's a long season. It's not a very regulated fish because it's an invasive species. They want you to catch them. So really the only thing that really affects you is the weather and the demand because the fish are here to catch.